Hey guys, what's going on? So today in this video, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about bed fishing. Now, I've noticed over the past couple of days, I've been watching some YouTubers. I think Rob from Lunkers TV, one of his videos, and LFG's video, they were down in Texas, and the fish were starting to get on beds. So I decided, you know what? If the fish are starting to get on beds down there, they'll be getting on beds soon up north and where I'm at as well, kind of in the middle. So I decided, you know what, why not go ahead and finally make this video. I was going to make this video about like half a month ago, but I decided no, I'll wait a little bit closer to the main beginning of the bedding season. So before I do get into the video, a huge thanks and shout out to That Murder Inc. Make sure you go check out his channel if you haven't already. I think most of the people that watch my channel have already subscribed to him anyway. But if you haven't, make sure you check out his channel. He gave me an awesome shout out in his last video, and I am very grateful of it, and it meant a lot to me, what he said about my channel and the Fly Fishing Ninja and all of them guys. So make sure you check out his channel. I'll have a link in the description or in the comments down below. That way you guys can check him out. Also, he also bought some of my baits, as you guys know, maybe from the comments. He bought a few of my baits, plus he gave a pack of them away. I am going to be sending them out tomorrow, so yeah. Anyway, first, before we get into the actual baits, I did buy a brand new chatterbait. Now this I actually bought 4 days ago, and I already got it from eBay. And this is by a guy. It's a custom made chatterbaits. And if you look, the skirt material, it goes from blue here to green in the middle and then the orange. So it looks really awesome. And it's not like a bunch of different color strands. It's all one color strands, or it's all one strand, but 3 different colors. And it's super cool. And I will try to find the link. It's kind of hard to find this specific one, but I'll try to get a link in the description. That way you guys can go straight to his channel, or not channel, but straight to his eBay store. That way you can buy him, because he makes some awesome looking, or he or she, gotta say that because I don't know the person's actual name, so it could be a girl as well. But make sure you check out that person's eBay channel or eBay store or whatever, because they make really cool chatterbaits. This is the first of many I'm going to buy from that person, because they're not super expensive, or only about $6 at the most, and they are really, really cool looking. Like you can see that one there. I put the Reaction Innovations Little Dipper on there. It looks really good. So now we'll go ahead and start getting into the tips for the spawning season. So a lot of people think that the spawning time of year and the fall time of year is literally the only 2 best times of the year. I personally don't fish much in the spawn, or I haven't in the past, mainly just because the water around here doesn't get super clear, so it is kind of hard to see the fish sometimes. But one of my favorite things to do, and I done it last year, in the pre-spawn, you fishing flats, basically just blind casting into beds. And what I was doing was I was blind casting, I don't have one here with me, but I was blind casting a 8-inch bullworm. I was going to have one with me, but I didn't. I was blind casting one, and I was on Texas rig, and I was just bumping it off the bottom, kind of more aggressive than I normally would. Like I was popping it off the bottom pretty hard, instead of like the normal dragging like I normally would. And I was catching fish pretty decently. I think I caught like maybe a dozen, maybe a little bit more than that on that day, just on a green pumpkin bullworm. So it was a really good day, and I thought that was an awesome way of fishing, just because you can't really see sometimes, because there is some pretty muddy water. And, you know, I noticed that, you know, people in Florida are also starting to get bedding fish, so I just decided, you know what, why not throw a couple baits up here and just do a video on bed fishing, my favorite baits for bed fishing, as well as some good tips for bed fishing. So one of my favorite baits for bed fishing, I'll show it to you real quick, is the tube. Now, I've not caught many bedfish, but some of the main bedfish that I did catch were on the green pumpkin or a black and red flake tube. So there's a yum tube, and the other one was a yum tube as well. And again, I will try to get as many links as I can in the description. I know in my last few videos I haven't put the links in the description, and I'm sorry about that. But I will put the links in the description on this one because I basically am going to try to help you guys a little bit more on these videos, because for some stupid reason I just had a stupid moment and forgot to put the links in some of my last videos. But I'll have a link to these because they are a very good bait to throw. Let me put that over there. That way I can scoot that over and I can set them there so I won't be picking up the same baits. The next bait is a really, really good bait for all around fishing in general, but for bed fishing, this thing is going to excel pretty well, I think, and that is the Strike King Rage Bug. Now, the Rage Bug obviously has the rage tail flanges, they call them, on it. As you can see, it's thin here, and then at the end it's flat to where it has a lot of action. All four appendages have that, and this thing will have a lot of action. And if you pitch that in there on a Texas rig, this thing will definitely catch you fish. And that there's in green pumpkin. I'll have a link down in the description to my two favorite colors for this bait, because there is two different colors that you have to have when you're bed fishing, and that is either a natural color, a dark color. I said two, but there's actually three. A natural color like a green pumpkin, a little bit darker color like a black and blue. What is the color called? Black neon. It's basically just black with red flake, and a bright color, something white, something possibly even pink. I've heard that smallmouth love pink baits when they're on the beds, or I guess it would be hate pink baits because they do just demolish them from what I've heard. Hang on a minute, my phone is all messed up. Sorry if the camera angle was off, I don't know why, but this bait was underneath the phone. I didn't know it was there. Sorry about that. Anyway, but I will have links to all of these baits except for a few of them because they are my own homemade baits. Next is another little tube. I forgot to pick this one up. This here is a little yum tube. This is a tiny tube compared to the other one. You guys can see quite a bit of difference in the size of the tubes. This one here, I believe, is a 2-inch tube, and I got a little 1/8 ounce jig head in it. And it's a pretty good tube. This is the tube that I caught my last fish of 2017 on, and it was a really cool bite. These things have a really cool color to them. Now, the problem with this one here is I have not found the exact bait that this is. And the problem is I bought it in one of those dollar bins at Walmart. So, I mean, it's really hard to find those baits because they don't label them right. Like these here, I think they were labeled grubs, and they're actually tubes. So, you know, if I can find it, I'll have the link to it. If I can't, then I won't be able to find the link. Next is a jig. Now, I have two jigs on here. One is black and blue, and one is a natural green and orange jig with a natural trailer. Now, another jig that is really good that I don't have at this moment is a white jig. A white jig works really well. I've done some pretty good on a white jig. My favorite color jig to throw on a bed is something that is either green with a little bit of like chartreuse or orange, or that it's something that is brown and orange. That's just my personal opinion, but if you have muddier water, you know, you can throw this little black and blue jig. This here, I believe, is called a Lucky Strike black and blue jig, but I will leave a link to an even better black and blue jig that I just haven't gotten yet, but I know they're really good. This one here, the hook, I mean, it's okay for right now. I'm going to get a different one, but the hook is just a little bit, like, it's a little bit light wire for a football jig, in my opinion, you know, but that's just my opinion. And I got it trailered with one of my homemade craws, if you guys can see that there. I got it with a little homemade crawfish in kind of just a black and gray color. You know, it's one of those ones that I had it mixed up with different colors. my neck's hurting. Anyway, next is this little finesse jig here. Now, I would also have the Strike King finesse jig. That's the one I'm going to show in the description, because this one here does not have a weed guard, and something that a lot of people don't like about this jig specifically is that it don't have a weed guard. But, you know, whatever. This one here is a Terminator jig. I actually found this for $1.50, I think, and I believe it's like a $4 jig. So, you know, it's a finesse jig. It's a very finesse jig. It's got really low profile skirt. The skirt is cut perfectly around the head, and it's a really cool, I mean, yeah, it's 1/2 ounce jig, and I got a Madman Baits crawl trailer on there, and I will leave a link to an even better jig and an even better trailer on there. I just didn't get the other one. So, yeah. Anyway, next are some of my homemade lures. And these here, you know, you can purchase from me, because these are my homemade baits. Number one is a little crawfish. This thing here is very small. It's 2.5 inches if I remember correctly. It might be only 2 inch. Let me see. Yeah, this is a 2-inch crawl, and it's a very good profile. It's very small. It's very light. You know, you rig it on a jig head. It's a little bit too small for like a EWG hook, but if you rig it on a jig head or on a jig, like I had this black and blue, I mean, if you guys look at that, I did cut the jig down a little bit. Whoops. And of course I dropped it and can't find it. Okay. There it is. Sorry about that. I dropped it and couldn't find it again. But if you guys look, I mean, that is, you know, the skirt kind of stops about here, and then there's the crawl itself, and it looks really good. In the water, this thing looks awesome. And I've actually gotten bit once on this jig. Not with this trailer, though. I was using a different trailer. But this thing does look really good in the water. I've taken a few casts with it, but haven't actually gotten enough time to fish it well. But it does look really good in the water. And this is just a black and blue jig. And also, something that I have covered before with trailers on jigs, don't worry about having to have a green pumpkin jig with a green pumpkin trailer. I mean, if you want to, throw this little green on that black and blue jig right there. I mean, if you're going to buy a black and blue jig, you know, look at that. I'm sure that looks really good. I mean, I know it looks good from here, but I don't know how well it's going to show up in that light. But I mean, if you put that black and blue right there with that green, it looks good. I've caught fish literally using pink and black trailers on a white jig. I've caught actually quite a few fish using that trailer on a white jig. And I mean, a green pumpkin on a black and blue, a lot of people only fish that. They don't even fish a black and blue trailer. I fished, what's that one color called? Okeechobee Crawl. It's got green and blue. I've fished those on both black and blue jigs and on white jigs, and both have caught fish for me. But, you know, it's your preference. I mean, if you have really dirty water, go with a black and blue jig with like a black and blue trailer or a green pumpkin trailer. You know, that would work really well. Or a black and blue jig with like a watermelon red trailer. That would look really good in the water as well. Anyway, sorry about me getting on a different roll. I'll probably make a jig video later on in the week anyway. But like I said, the little crawl on a little jig head would be awesome. I can't wait to throw this. And honestly, I mean, I think that this thing would possibly even work for some of the bigger bluegill beds, because I've caught bluegill on even bigger baits than this during the spawn. So, I mean, there's a possibility you can even catch bluegill or rock bass. Rock bass would be a lot of fun with this little crawl. Next is the little 3-inch bluegill. You guys can tell next to my hand, it is a very small bluegill, but it is very, very effective. And it just kind of sits down there on the bottom. You rig it on a jig head or on a weightless hook, that thing will sit down there, nose down on the bottom, and right in that fish's bed, just like that, and that thing will be killer. Next is one of my newer baits. This here is the little swim bait minnow thing. Haven't really come up with a name for it yet, but I'm working on it. With a little 1/4 ounce jig head. I mean, a 1/4 ounce jig head is a little bit heavy. I mean, I just threw this together just for basically reference of what it would look like in the water. But a 1/4 ounce jig head would work. I mean, it still works fine. You just fish that along the bottom. It would look like a little bitty minnow sitting there on the bottom eating the eggs. Next is the 4-inch bluegill. Now these are all in green, green pumpkin. This one here is a really good looking bait. I mean, this thing here, you rig it on I rig it on either a 5/0 or a 4/0 EWG hook. Now you can also use these weightless swim bait hooks. I've done that, and I fished them before. But this thing, you just reel it right into their bed and drop it. You fish it on a little bit heavier jig head, like a little bit heavier hook. I think that thing would be awesome. You know, it just sit like this right here in their bed, and that tail be sitting up in the air. That tail be waving in the water. I think this thing here would be awesome. But anyway, yeah, if you guys want to buy any of my soft plastic baits, I will have the address in the thing, so you can send the money order, cash, check, whatever you decide to send. But I will have a jig video coming out soon, because I know that a lot of people like fishing a jig right after the spawn. Right after the spawn usually is when I start throwing swim baits and chatterbaits. So I'll probably do a jig video then, like maybe in this week or next week. But I'm going to be making a lot, and I mean a lot, of these type of videos this week. I'm probably going to be uploading almost every day. If I don't do every day, it'd probably be every other day. So get ready for a lot of these type of videos, because I'm super duper excited for this year's spawning, this year new season of bass fishing. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, bye.